everyone, welcome to the first Carvel community meeting of 2022. If you are watching this recording from home, just a reminder, we do meet every Thursday at 10:30 a.m. Pacific time. So if you have anything you wish to discuss with the team, or if you just want to sit in and listen on what we got or meet the team, please join us. We would love to get to know you and have you join our meetings live. When you do join and you do have something you wish to discuss, please just add that to the discussion topics area down here. And we will get to that throughout the, towards the end of the meeting. And if you aren't able to attend these meetings and you still want to get in touch with us, you can find us in the Carvel channel in the Kubernetes Slack workspace. Or you can find us on Twitter at Carvel_dev. At any point when you're interacting with us or any members of the community, we ask that you please read and abide by our code of conduct, and that includes when you attend these community meetings as well. If you are using any of the Carvel tools, we would love to know more about how you're using the tools so we have a better understanding of the use cases and to help us improve the tools in the future, as well as helping out others on how they might be able to utilize the tools as well. And if you add your logo in there, we can add you to the adopters page and help promote your organization. For those that are attending this meeting, please add your name and organization in this list here. On to some announcements. A few weeks ago, we put out a Carvel community feedback survey. We asked a few questions regarding the tools, how you're using it, getting feedback on what you might want to see in the future on the roadmap, anything that you want to discuss regarding the tools, as well as the community meeting. So for 2022, we would like to do some improvements to this meeting to make sure that what we're talking about, what we do here, is benefiting you. And so we would love to hear if you attended these meetings before and you no longer attend, is there any particular reason why? If you have never attended, is there something that we could do to improve and increase your chances of attending? Anything at all that you want to bring up regarding this meeting, we would love to get that feedback so that we can improve what we have going on in this meeting. So please add that by February 13th. And then from there, we'll start to use that feedback on how the roadmap looks, and as well as this community meeting. On to some content stuff. So we recently had how to customize the Tanzu Community Edition and add additional value using the Carvel tool set by Scott Rosenberg. And Scott is an active community member, both with us and TCE and some other open source projects. He's been super helpful in helping us with some various development in our tools, as well as providing these interesting presentations to help the community understand the tools and other open source projects better. So thank you, Scott, for doing this. This is great. Next up, we do have a blog that was by one of our maintainers, Praveen, that goes over incorporating external resources in kapp. So be sure to give that a read. As far as upcoming content, we have 2 webinars that are with Tanzu TV. And again, it's with Scott, so he's a rock star. We really appreciate him. On February 8th, 12 p.m. Pacific time, there's going to be a TAP overview and impressions talk. There will be some elements of Carvel discussed within there. And then on February 22nd, at the same time, Scott will also be talking about Carvel packaging as a unified package manager for Kubernetes. Scott, is there anything that you wanted to touch on either one of those?
Cap is going to include a lot of Carvel, mostly YTT stuff. And yeah, it should be a lot of fun.
Great. Thanks, Scott. Now, in the realm of content sharing, we want to be better at sharing our knowledge of Carvel, whether that's through video, through blog posts, workshops, et cetera, and we also want to invite members of the community to do the same, because what the maintainers may know about Carvel and how they use it could be completely different on how users of the tools are using it. So we are starting to do a weekly content sharing plan. There's a PR open here for adding it to our processes doc. Essentially, when this gets merged, we ask that if you're interested in writing a blog post or creating a short video or anything whatsoever, it could be anything that you find interesting about Carvel, how it works with other open source projects or tools or products out in the world, anything that you find interesting and you want to share with the community at large, we would love to have you participate. So just once this is all merged, you can come in and do a pull request and adding your name, the date that you wish to sign up for, and GitHub handle, what type of medium you plan on doing, and like a topic as well. And we'll in turn do some promoting of, we'll tweet it out, we'll add it to our Slack, we'll email it to our users, and we'll also share with it at the community meeting. And it's not required that you're at the community meeting when we share it, but we will highlight it and share that content within one of these meetings. So if you have any questions about that or have any feedback whatsoever, please reach out to us in Slack in that Carvel channel within the Kubernetes Slack workspace. And then Aaron, did you want to go over anything else regarding that particular item?
No, I think you covered it well.
Cool. All right, now on to some releases. We have kapp-controller, ODAT 3.2. Anybody want to go over this release?
I guess real quick, I think a couple of highlights. First of all, it's a power of 2 release. That's it's a big milestone. The next one is going to be just as much work as the first one. This one was. The kube-ctl get all. I think that's a really good example of like kind of, well, Ben coming in and just being like, hey, why haven't you guys done this yet? And it was like, oh yeah, good idea. So thanks, Ben. That was that's great. I think we did a lot of it is version bumps. I don't honestly, somebody else will have to talk about the downgrade annotation if that's important to call out separately. And I guess the other thing we did is we reduced our memory footprint just by compiling with a newer version of Go. So it was like the rare case where there really was something in the language tooling itself, but luckily someone had already fixed it.
Thanks, Joe. I know that the CAP team isn't on, but is anyone able to talk about the CAP release?
I think at a high level, part of the theme for the CAP team has been focusing on performance improvements. So I think this release captures a couple things that they have done, and I expect the next release will just continue to optimize performance, reduce API calls whenever possible.
Great. Thanks, Aaron. All right, YTT.
Yep, I can cover this release. So starting off, it's version 39, released yesterday. And we've got a new assert equals package. Huge shout out to Nick Seemiller for this contribution. Thank you. There are 3 new schema annotations that you can add to your data value schema files. They are schema title, schema examples, and schema depreciated. These keys will, or these annotations will help authors provide more information and metadata about data values in their OpenAPI schema. There is a new function added, or a new parameter to a function added to plain merge data values into a library. So now you can add this parameter plain equals true into your with data values function to merge data values in a similar way that they would merge with the -- data values file flag. Then there's been some various error message improvements, some inclusion of annotations in those error messages, as well as just quality of life improvements for the maintainers of YTT. And then there was a continuation of a bug fix regarding nested schema annotations within a data value marked as an any type. So big release, got a lot in here, and huge thank you to those who helped out.
Great. Thanks, Garrett. Okay. The other thing to add on to the topic of releases is we have added the ability to go into documentation, and there are now versions available for you to go to within the search. We have available now for kapp-controller, and with the latest release of YTT, that's available. So as we continue to release new versions, you'll now have the ability to click on the different documentation that's associated with those versions. Anything else you wish to add to this particular topic?
Just a small thing. If you're contributing to our documentation, we would ask you to, when you're doing a change, to keep in mind that there's the develop documentation is going to be used as the base for the next release. So if you want something to show up in the next release on the documentation, if you're helping us with that, just do changes on the develop folder. And if you do want to make changes on an earlier version or the current latest version, and you do not want it to go further down on next new versions, you can just change on that folder for that particular version. So there's this new way of having the documentation in our site. So I hope this helps you when you're searching for something. The search is also related to that particular version. So you will not, like in version 31, you will not be able to find something that was included only on version 32, for example. So if the search is restricted to the versions to help out. So we're trying to help out as much as we can, you all, when you're trying to look at our documentation.
Great, thanks, Joao. And as far as what you mentioned, like how those that want to contribute to the documentation and keeping those things in mind, is that something that we should actually add to how to contribute docs so that others will have that in mind? I'll put that as I'll start an issue to get that going. Okay. All right, next up, status updates, project roadmap. And anyone able to touch on what we got going on for the next little bit here?
Yeah, we're still, I think, in the design research phase for a number of things. But at least these are some of the things that we know we'll be doing soon-ish. So like the kapp-controller CLI work, with the last release, I think you can actually already use the kapp-controller CLI. So if you're interested in that, I would say reach out to us in Slack, because I think we'd appreciate any early feedback. But so just capture the first milestone there, and then there's another milestone coming up consuming as a library for kapp-controller CLI. Other things on here, the Open API document metadata UX improvements, that was actually just wrapped up with this latest release. So the next things on the roadmap around asset signing and verification, that will likely span multiple tools within Carvel, YTT validations, YTT guides and examples. These are all things that I think we're pretty confident in will be coming up. We just haven't yet really set timelines for them yet. But yeah, as always, let us know if there are other things that you would like to see here. We are actively planning and defining our roadmap. So we'll just share more as we define it more.
Great, thanks, Aaron. Yeah, and so, you know, when you're looking at this roadmap, we would love to get your feedback, and pointing back to that survey that we've sent out. I'll send it out again. If there's anything that you feel that is missing here, or if you have any feedback on what is here, please add those comments into the survey or reach out to us in Slack. We would love to hear from you.
Oh, and maybe one other thing I'll share is if you ever are interested in just like more of what's the day-to-day type thing, feel free to take a look at our ZenHub backlog. Roadmap is more focused on like those bigger boulders.
For sure. Okay, now, and the ZenHub is linked out here for this week. So like Aaron said, you can take a look at this for day-to-day stuff. Now, breaking it down tool by tool on what the team is working on this week for YTT. Anybody want to cover these items that you're working on?
I think we've just about wrapped up the schema open API export features, that first bullet point there. That's what this release was for. One of them.
Yeah, and to add on to that, if there are more open API features that you need, please do reach out and let us know. There's sort of one feature that wasn't included in these two releases, which is to change the metadata for an open API document. We're hoping to solve that as like a bigger feature in YTT to provide metadata to a library. But please do reach out if you have a use case or a need for that. We'd love to hear from you.
Oh, thanks, Carrie. Thanks, Garrett. Cap, I know the team isn't here, and they added some stuff that they're working on regarding this week. So like Aaron mentioned, a lot of enhancements and performance improvements as they tie into Cap. Anything else that should be mentioned regarding Cap here and what they're working on this week? Oh, okay. Kapp-controller. Any status updates, anything you want to share of in particular what you're working on that kind of goes outside of the roadmap?
I don't think there's anything worth calling out. Nothing too exciting.
Okay, and like I said, if you want to know like nitty-gritty details, you can check out the backlog and just filter out for Kapp-controller. What about for K-build?
I'm going to do a two sweep here. K-build and image package. We've been trying to keep our dependencies up to date. That has been like the bulk of the work. We did start working on a feature for image package that allow you to describe a bundle to understand what is part of the bundle. So if you have anything that you'd like to see or something on that area, feel free to reach out to us. And there are some issues that are being picked up around that area. So that's basically what's going to move us on the next couple of weeks.
Thanks, Joel. What about vendor and secret-gen-controller? Anything the team's working on this week on either of those tools?
There's an issue that I'm taking on for secretgen-controller just about people are having problems with like it duplicating annotations across secrets. I don't know. There's an issue open for it if people are interested, but yeah, it's a little bit in the weeds, but that's it. And yeah, for vendor, I don't think there's anything in the works.
Thanks, Ben. Discussion topics. I had put this in here, I think, prematurely regarding the health checks. So for what we do in the community engagement team at VMware, we have launched health checks in this repo over community engagement within the VMware Tanzu org. And we conduct health checks for all of our open source projects twice every 6 months. So 2 times in 6 months, so I guess once every 3 months. And we conducted one for Carvel, but it's not quite completed. So we will just share with you next week some of the top 3 things that we have seen that we got out of the health check that we are going to be working on over the next few months before the next health check. And we just want to be transparent in how we see the health of the project and to show you that we are working towards being a healthier open source project. So stay tuned for that and join us next week. And if you have any questions regarding that process or want to listen in on that particular discussion topic, come join us. Was there anything that the team had that they wanted to discuss that wasn't listed here?
I have a topic that is maybe light, but following the version docs, how do we want to handle any existing version caveats? Are we free to remove those now? And I guess when I say a version caveat, it was pretty common that we would say, in version X, we released this feature, Y. But if we're moving towards more specific versioning, can we delete those, or are there risks to do that?
I think we can start deleting those. The ones that say something like this feature works starting this version. Like, so you can provide this flag on version 39, right? There's like only the caveat of the inverts where we deprecate something. I don't think we ever deprecated a flag or something like that. But when we do, like the caveats should still be there saying that in the next couple of releases, we are going to remove this. So be careful. So if we're talking about the caveats for this particular flag is only present starting on version 39, I think we can start removing those and only get the documentation on version 39 for that particular version. At least now that we have versions, I think we are safe, I believe.
Wonder what the oldest version that somebody's using out there of any of the given tools. If we Because we're starting at this point in time and going forward, and if there are features that, let's say somebody's using a much older version of some tool, if they look in the docs, if we remove all the caveats, then I don't know how many people that would affect, but they wouldn't know what was available, not available. So I don't know if that's even a thing.
I was thinking about not changing the past, just changing the future. So like from this moment on, I think we can stop doing that.
Got it. So we could pull stuff off of develop. Is that the idea? And then from here on out, there's just no more caveats from version whatever. Okay, gotcha. I get it. Cool.
And to be fair, if there's like some version that we know, oh my God, this version was iconic and everybody used it, we can create a particular version for a particular documentation for that version and keep it like the caveats there, or remove the documentation that is like newer. So we can, for example, let's imagine that the first version that we have a version documentation is version 31, but one of the best versions we had was 20. So we can copy the version 31 documentation to 20 and just remove all the caveats that are from in between those two versions, saying like everything that started appearing on 21, 22, and we can do that as a manual process if we find out that there are versions that people are effectively using more, and it would be helpful to have documentation for those particular versions of our tools. I think that's something we can talk about.
Okay. Anything else on that topic, or if there's anything else that others want to bring up? Okay. Well, thanks everyone for joining us for our first community meeting of 2022. Again, if you're watching this from home, we would love for you to come join us live. We meet every Thursday at 10:30 a.m. Pacific time. If you have any feedback regarding this community meeting or the tools themselves, the roadmap, et cetera, please fill out the survey. We would love to hear from you. We would love anything that you have whatsoever, no matter how minor or big. We would love to know what you think about anything regarding Carvel. So with that, we hope to hear from you. We hope to see you at our next meeting, and have a good day. Thanks.